pause so we could put the camera back on the tripod. Anyway, George Washington did not have a cell phone. Now, I always thought that was a good title for a lot of things because, you know, before I get into my dad's stuff, because my dad was, I know I talked about him before, but I never really got deep. And I can assure you, my dad was extremely deep, you know. He did a lot of things that, you know, I mentioned to Bass Player magazines and different interviews that seemed to go nowhere, you know. I would think, I wouldn't want them to do it now because I don't even want to bother with those people. But, you know, the reality is it should have been a front page story, you know. But before that, I never really addressed the situation when that article was written about the six-string bass and Anthony Jackson's views on it. No. I think the name of that article should have been Anthony Jackson's a Genius and Carl Thompson's a Jerk, because that's what that article said. Everything in there was about Anthony's ego and his attitude towards things, and there wasn't any mention in there about all the struggles that went on trying to make the six-string bass back in those days. Because a lot of stuff wasn't available. It just wasn't available. And there was no mention in that whole article about anything that really happened to make that bass even get started or anything. And it was a real trip trying to make something for the very first time. You know, anybody who does anything for real the first time, even the second time, it gets a little crazy. You know, I think about Thomas Edison. You think he just developed that light? I think I'll make an electric light. Okay, let's get some bulbs and we'll do it. Bang, bang. No, that wasn't like that. No, it wasn't like that. It certainly wasn't. He must have gone through a lot of hell trying to develop that. Orville Wright, Wilbur Wright. Again, let's make an airplane. Okay, well, first thing you got to do is get some jet fuel. We'll do that. Oh, we better get a parachute too, because once we're up there, something happens, we might have to dive out. No, none of that happened. There were no parachutes. There was no jet fuel. There was nothing. Now, I'm not comparing myself to Thomas Edison or the Wright brothers. What they did was way beyond anything I could ever imagine doing. But in the development of the very first six-string bass, I feel like at least I was on the same page somewhere with those guys, you know. And there really wasn't anything. There was no strings, there was no pickups, there was no bridges, there was nothing. There was no cell phone, so to speak. It just didn't exist. And my attitude towards Anthony in those days, well, I'm not going to get too detailed on that. But all that stuff that he said about me probably was true. I probably wasn't very nice to him. But if you knew Anthony the way I knew him back in those days, there's a whole other side to the stories that was not mentioned at all. You know. The six-string bass, when Anthony came in, but that is definitely his idea. I mean, he should get all the credit in the world for that. There's no question about that. It was his idea. You know. But I truly believe his total contribution to the six-string bass was he wanted one. And that's a contribution, there's no question about it. But, you know, trying to get a pickup made for it, to extend, to get the magnetic field that wide, was almost impossible in those days. Nobody seemed to, there was no EMG, there was none of those people did that. They weren't even around. I know we talked about this before, but I just want to make it very clear that I struggled a lot to try to make that thing work. And I know it wasn't right. You know, just like the Wright brothers when they got on that plane the first time. Boom, boom, all over the field. You've seen those film clips of some of that stuff, you know. Then people bouncing around and trying to get up, being off the ground. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get that bass off the ground and into Anthony's hands. You know, the struggle I had trying to get strings made for it. Anthony came up with something in that article about tapered string. Well, he might have done that later on. But the first strings that were on there were made by D'Addario. And what I went through to get John D'Addario to make those strings was pure hell. You know. And whether anybody wants to believe that or not, or if anybody wants to cover up all their crap around that, that's okay. I know the truth. I was there and I dealt with it. And when I went out there to get those strings made, and John's, I love John C. He was a great man, but I had so many, I went out there, I don't know how many times I went out there and talked to him about trying to get a string made for the low B, you know. Carl, he said, what are you doing? He says, I can't take him out. I got production here. I can't break a machine down. And how big does it have to be? I said, I don't know. 128, no, 130, no way. He said, I can't, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, well, John, he said, I remember his question. He says, a 6-string bass, he said, who's going to play that? I said, I don't know, probably a lot of people someday, but right now it's just Anthony Jackson. He's, you know, one that had this idea, and I'm trying to make it work for him, you know. So John made me a string, a 120. That was, as far as he was concerned, that was the best he could do at the time. You know, so you people, when you go out to buy a set of 6-string bass strings, yeah, you can do it. Just like you can get a cell phone, and George Washington couldn't. You know, it's the same situation. You go to any store, you can get a set of 6-string bass strings, you can get piccolo strings, which didn't exist in those days either. And if you want to get an extra long string, you can get that too. I couldn't do any of that. None of that was available. Preamps, you want to put an active circuit in your bass? Yeah, good luck, Harry.